Miami takes down Ole Miss 31-27. It comes down to the final drive where Carson Beck tiptoes it in. To be honest with you, I was I was a little mad watching him walk it in because the way that he did it, it was a little petty, but I understand. Energy was high. Energy was really high. And that drive that Carson Beck had at the end of the game was absolutely insane. Mario Cristobal, he gets his team to a national championship. Miami, this is the team that nobody wanted in the college football playoffs, said they didn't belong there. Talking about them over Notre Dame, saying, of course, they beat them head to head, but they didn't belong there after how Notre Dame looked. Of course, the BYU conversation, of course, all the other things. They were the final team to make the playoff field. And guess what? They're going to be one of two final teams left standing. They're going to the national championship game. Oh, and they're going to be in away jerseys in their own home stadium in Miami. What do you think about this game overall, man? It was a wild one.
Yeah, this one was incredible. Ole Miss, it was such an interesting game because I think I texted you at one point and I was like, gosh, I feel like Ole Miss is winning this game, but they're just not scoring. Like it feels like they're the better team. And then once the kind of scuffle of the fourth quarter happened, it felt like, okay, well, maybe Miami's the better team, but somehow Ole Miss is capitalizing a little bit better right now, with interceptions, the one interception in the game and their touchdown drives late. And, it was just an odd game for me. But it was really, really enjoyable. And to comment on like Miami's last drive, it was surgical. And I will be very clear, like I wasn't happy about it. Like I was under the kind of mindset, if Ole Miss moves on, we're going to get 3 games in a row of Trinidad Chambliss, 3 games in a row of this Ole Miss team that refuses to quit. I mean, I have never, actually, I shouldn't say I've never seen anything like it, but that last drive, what they have 18 seconds, they covered 40 yards in 12. Yeah. It was just 2 lasers from Chambliss. And then they took a shot at the end zone. It didn't work out. But, I mean, that's the kind of thing that, like, most teams are done there. They get a shot at a lateral play because they were able to stop the clock or whatever. They did have one timeout to start that drive. So they would have a way to stop the clock before it ended, and they could try some laterals. But they had a legit shot at the end zone. And you could, whether or not that was a PI call, I don't love that it wasn't called, but I also it's – sometimes you got to let the boys play a little bit. So I'm not going to die on that hill, but this was a phenomenal game. And I think it really showed what Trinidad Chambliss is capable of. If he goes to the NFL, I think his stock has been, just exponentially boosted by this playoff run. And, for Miami, you got to love it for the team. You really do. This is a magical run for them to get from, basically last team in 10 seed to now in the championship, playing technically at home. But I will say, like, they should probably just wear away jerseys every time they play there because, I mean, who goes to Miami games,
Well, hopefully that changes now. But you're right. The crowd hasn't been great over the last couple of years there. Mario Cristobal might be turning it around now because he brings them back to national championship presence. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Before that game-winning drive happened, and I think I sent you a text during this as well, so a little behind the scenes here for everybody listening in. I knew Miami was scoring on that game-winning drive. Do you know why I knew? The broadcast showed Michael Irvin on the sideline.
You texted me that.
They showed Michael Irvin on the sideline. I was like, oh, man, this is an omen. Miami is going to win this football game. Like, they wouldn't just show him getting ready to take his belt off his waist. Like, they wouldn't do that. Right. And that's something that absolutely, if I'm Miami, of course, I'm ecstatic that I'm going to the national championship game, but I'm happy in how they got there because against Ohio State, 0 penalties last night, 10 penalties, 74 yards. They were not the most disciplined team last night, and they still found a way to win against Ole Miss, who I think has an incredible defense. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Ole Miss and their defense in another segment later on today. But what Pete Golding has done, let's not forget what Pete Golding has gone through over the last month. Obviously, Lane Kiffin leaving, the crazy things happening, everything going down. And then this past week, he loses some of his coaches going back to LSU, running back coach being one of them. And then, boom, there they are. That's exactly what happens, right? Trinidad Chambliss says, you know what, I'm coming back if I get a waiver. Kewan Lacy says, you know what, I'm coming back. Everything starts going in the direction. And on the defensive side, you're starting to see, like, man, this defense is good. This is not a fluke. There's only one SEC team left in the tournament, and it's Ole Miss. A lot of people are like, hey, that doesn't sound right. What dimension are we in? I think this is going to be the new norm. I think this is the new norm now. The Ole Miss is going to be right back there with Pete Golding on top. He's recruiting well. The portal looks good. And I don't think this is going to be a one-time thing for Ole Miss. This team is going to be back. But if I'm Miami, I'm super ecstatic knowing that I took them down on a non-disciplined way. Malachi Toney, are you kidding me? This is a guy. Yeah, this is a guy that just turned 18.
He's supposed to be in high school.
Yeah, he was supposed to be in the 2026 class. He just turned 18 this past September, and basically on the national stage is just taking off. When he gets the ball, he's one of the most dangerous people in the country. He's easily the top freshman in the country, and now he's just absolutely shown off. Incredible.
I was in awe. And on that last drive, you talk about the Michael Irvin thing. You threw out "oh no" before the Michael Irvin text, and I was like, is he ahead of me? What's happening? Like, I don't know what he's referencing. Anyway, that was interesting in that regard. But then on that last drive, I was like, if they get the ball to Toney, I don't know if Ole Miss can stop them. Like, I legitimately think, because there was all the conversation about, hey, Cam, all I can think of is Cam Ward. Miami's not throwing the ball down the field, right? Carson Beck is only hitting behind the line, short screen throws or whatever. I'm like, if they just continuously hand the ball to Toney, it's going to be a touchdown. Like, there is no stopping that guy. So the speed is incredible. He went up for that one-hander. I think he got up about 15 feet in the air, basically spinning away from it. The ball came in and stuck to his hand. It was just glued there. Obviously wasn't, in bounds. It was heel came down out of bounds, but phenomenal grab. So look for him over the next few years. And Miami, I don't think is really going to go anywhere. I still think Miami's a legit team. They haven't finished this season. They'll be without Carson Beck next year, of course, because I don't know if the NCAA will grant him an eighth year, excuse me. I guess you never know with the NCAA, but
fair.
I think the better outlook, honestly, between these two teams is Ole Miss. I do wonder if Pete Golding's going to be the guy to just light this whole thing up and become not the next Kurt Signetti, but the next guy to come in, take over a program, and you're already in the SEC. You kind of have a bit of a head start. Just take it and run with it. And this Ole Miss team's squared up, ready to roll.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because you're saying the question like, yeah, they're in the SEC. They have a head start. Do they? Because it's now been almost 1,100 days since the SEC has played a national championship game.
Here's why I say they have a head start.
Yet they still find a way to get half their teams in the playoffs every year.
That's what I was going to say is they don't play to the standard that they get credit for, right? Everyone assumes that they're world beaters, and they haven't really shown that. Obviously, Alabama did a long time ago, back when the dinosaurs were roaming the planet. But since then, they haven't really been there. So that's why I say they get the benefit of the doubt. Like, they're starting ahead. They don't have to be, like, if you're from the Big 12, you have to win the Big 12 to make the playoff. We've seen that over the last 2 years. An 11-1 BYU conference runner-up that only lost to one team did not get in. So by that math, you have to be the conference champion. You don't have to do that in the SEC.
How long until the narrative goes away about the SEC having a bad year? Because although Ole Miss obviously made it to the semifinals, let's look at actually what the college football playoffs looked like for the SEC. They went 3-5, and the only wins were against themselves. The Alabama-Oklahoma game, right, being one of them. The Ole Miss-Georgia game being another one. And then the other win was against Tulane. So not
a great look.
But again, that's not going to matter. All that's going to matter is that look how many teams we got in the college football playoffs, right?
Well, I can't wait for Greg Sankey and them all off season. We should, SEC should be granted 10 teams automatically. I think we should go for double digits. No, they shouldn't.
No, this I think this proves we're going a little off topic here, but I think this showed that okay, we maybe need to be a little different. That Miami shouldn't have been the last team in. There should have. I think I'm okay with not having a conversation about Miami being in or not. Alabama and Oklahoma should have been maybe the conversation for sure. Miami's earned $20 million for the ACC technically with their trip to the national championship, but the ACC has said the Hurricanes are keeping 100% of it. So not only are you going to have a team that has been rising right now, you're getting another $20 million. And then look, we just saw this happen, or this conversation happened last week when they played Ohio State. Some of those big time Ohio State players come from South Florida. If Mario Cristobal gets this team right back to where it needs to be, those guys aren't leaving for Ohio State anymore. Those guys are going to stay at the U. This right here means a lot more. Going to the national championship game, being able to play the national championship game in Miami, and if they win, that's another story. But they've already won because they've already proven that Miami is back on the map. And I think this is going to help them for the next 4 to 5 years under Mario Cristobal. I think you can truly say that Miami has returned to become a powerhouse, whether you like it or not, whether you think that they're a dark horse in this playoffs. What they're doing right now is insane. And I think this is really impressive because there's going to be a lot of South Florida kids that say, you know what? Ohio State doesn't even sound that good anymore. It snows up there. Give me the Crocodiles. Give me the Hurricanes. Give me the Miami Hurricanes. And I'm sticking at home. I can totally see that happening now.
Yeah, I do have a feeling we're going to be getting a lot of Michael Irvin taking his belt off over the next few years. You make a great point. I think Florida has just a ton of talent as far as high school recruits. And when you've got a team like Miami, because there is so much competition down there, Florida State, Florida, Miami, just to name a few, and then even teams like USF or the blue one with the Owls. I'm blanking on the school name.
FIU?
No, not FIU. It's FAU, I believe, Florida Atlantic. Just loaded with opportunity. And when one of those teams is that good, they're likely going to stay because it is just so nice down there. Last point I wanted to make here. Can you imagine what Miami's going to be like, win or lose after this game? I mean, that place is going to be chaos. Whether they win, it's a celebration. If they lose, I mean, you show up to a big time event with drinks because it's either a celebration or drinking in sorrow. Miami is going to be chaos after the national championship game.
How's it got to feel? It's got to feel amazing to know that you're getting a home game for the Natty.
Like that's like playing the Super Bowl at home. Like that's why all these teams are putting domes on their stadiums, is because they want to be able to play the biggest game at home. This is not only like playing in the national championship game as a player has to be like the coolest feeling of all time, but then you got to be in your home locker room. Like what?
Yeah. Let's close out Ole Miss here. Obviously a great season in the what a college football run for Trinidad Chambliss, as we've mentioned. I hope he gets his waiver. I want to see him play for Ole Miss again in 2026. And I will say this, and I think you said it to me last night. I watch every single one of his games. He's so electric. But in his college football run, just those games alone, 985 yards, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, what he did was incredible in it. And of course, the Georgia game was incredible. He was throwing heat checks against Kirby Smart. He wasn't amazing in this game against Miami. He was good, especially towards the end. The beginning, that defensive line, that elite defensive line of Miami got to him. But overall, I think we're definitely seeing a star in the making. I think one more year of college football would do him good. I don't think he should enter the draft unless he has to, meaning, of course, the waiver does not work. If he gets that waiver and he returns, I mean, I think you're looking at him being one of the top quarterbacks. I don't think the top, because Arch Manning's coming out in 27. I think you're looking at him being one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL draft in the 27 draft.
Absolutely. I mean, not only is he like really, really good, but he can make those ridiculous plays. Like he can put the ball on a rope in the size of a bucket, the size of the ball. We know that he's accurate. I would say that's maybe my biggest gripe with him is his accuracy. Every now and then he's not exactly on point. And for that to be the area where he could improve is saying something, because I think his accuracy is actually really, really solid. The ball zips out of his hand and his legs. I was going to text you this. I ended up not texting you it because he was so fast that it wouldn't have even made sense. He gets out of the pocket faster than I've ever seen anybody, I think, ever do it. And I don't mean he's rushing the scramble. I don't like, he'll sit in there. He took a huge shot on that. I think it was ended up being a targeting call down the field. But he took a shot later in this game. So he will sit in the pocket. But when he decides to leave, he is, boom, gone. All of a sudden, 5 yards away, rolling, and he's able to make throws on the run. So, yeah, you said it best, and I did text you last night. Like, he is lightning in a bottle. Not only is he good, he is fun to watch. I mean, he is entertainment in football form, like if you were to put it into one player. So huge shout out to Trinidad Chambliss. I wish we could have gotten to see more Kewan Lacy with the whole hamstring deal. I think that was maybe what undid the Rebels in this game, to be completely honest. They didn't lean on Chambliss' legs enough. They gave Miami the ball back with too much time, this, that, and the other. Their season's over. Let's move on. Cannot wait for next year. Hopefully Chambliss gets to come back, because I will watch literally every single game they have. And if he goes to the pros, I will be making sure that I get an NFL Sunday ticket so I can see it there.
Do you think that this team has what it takes? Obviously right now we're recording this on Friday. So with the sake of, shelf life reasons, we're not going to say it's either against Indiana or Oregon. That game is yet to be played. But you think this team has what it takes, Miami, to win the whole dang thing, regardless of who they play between Indiana and Oregon?
The way I see it is they have to be perfect against Indiana. They can play a game like this against Oregon. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I think they're very capable either way. We'll see how good Indiana is, because, right, like against Alabama, I don't think anyone was expecting that dominant of a win. If Indiana beats Oregon by like 30 points, I would be concerned about like anybody facing Indiana. They just might be the team of destiny. But this Miami team is capable. They have the offensive weapons. They have that defensive line that you mentioned. They are super, super powered where it feels like you need to be. And Carson Beck, I mean, like we mentioned, 7 years of experience. It's going to go a long way. He's played in the playoff before. Now he's played in a few games this year already. He'll be at home. Like, you can't count the Canes out, but I think it depends on who they play is how I'm going to approach this game, whether or not they need to be perfect, kind of like they were against Ohio State, or if they're able to have some wiggle room like they did against the Rebels here.